So we continue with our science paper 1 revision 2025 GCE, and I'm focusing on question number 1, and I hope you are able to to see from that distance, because I'm using the question paper to answer right from here. So the question there says that figure B1.1 shows the main parts of measuring instruments found in a laboratory labeled as A and B. So this is what they have told you. So they have just shown you part of the measuring instruments, and they tell you to say A, name instrument A and B. Of course, from the looks of things, you are able to identify without a doubt that that is representing A is representing a micrometer screw gauge. So you just needed to write there and simply say micrometer. So that is a micrometer screw gauge. So that is a micrometer screw gauge. Then B, if you look at the scale, that is representing in this case the main scale and the vernier scale. Remember, this one here is the main scale, and that is representing what we call as being the vernier scale. So the one that has the main scale and the vernier scale, that is a vernier caliper. So this is a vernier caliper. And of course, like I said, this is a micrometer screw gauge. So this scale found on the sleeve is sometimes called as being the main the main scale. So that's the scale that is found on the sleeve. So that is the sleeve. It is sometimes called the sleeve scale, but that is the main scale. Then the one found on the thimble, that is representing the thimble, and therefore the scale that is found on the thimble, this one you are able to see there, that is what we call as being the thimble scale. So you need to remember those things that we are talking about. Then B says which physical quantity is measured by instrument A and B. Now, of course, the question says which physical quantity. Remember, physics is a science of measurement. So which physical quantity is measured by that? The correct answer that you are supposed to state is simply length is the physical quantity measured by either a micrometer screw gauge or a vernier caliper. So that is what you needed to answer. I know, of course, a lot of people make a mistake when they tell them what's the physical quantity. They will start talking about measuring the inner and outer diameter of an object using a vernier caliper, or they'll start saying measuring either the thickness of the hair strand, dust particles, or maybe other smaller object. They'll say micrometer. But remember, when the question says physical quantity, what can be measured, it is simply length. You don't need to waste your time. Then C there says which instrument is most suitable to measure the thickness of a razor blade. So the thickness in this case. So the most appropriate instrument is actually which instrument. So we can simply say, if you want instrument A. But of course, you could have mentioned it because they have told you to identify there. You could have said a micrometer screw gauge. So a micrometer screw gauge was actually the correct answer. So this is actually a more precise instrument. And if you remember the accuracy of this instrument, the micrometer screw gauge can measure, can actually measure lengths from 0 up to somewhere 25 millimeters. So it can measure a very small object, in other words, from 0 to somewhere 2.5 centimeters. But on the other hand, the vernier caliper can measure, depending on the one you're looking at, from 0 to 12 centimeters, from 0 to 15 centimeters. So they are able to measure length between 0 and 15 centimeters. But this one, 0 to 25, remember, it is in millimeters. If we take it to centimeters, that is a 2.5. Thank you so much. Watch out as we look at the solution to question number 2 in the next video.